Hi, welcome to the first video in a series of videos, or when I put in omnibus format, it'll be the first part of a long video of my Plants vs Zombies All Puzzles tutorial. I've done this before, and they've all been unscripted. This is still unscripted, but I hope this one will be slightly better. It'll have a bit more editing, and it'll have more of a concrete format. Hopefully, that's the plan at least. So I'm going to go through 3-hit wonder, throwing you right into the deep end, because this is the level that I do first, because I think it's the most variable, it's the hardest depending on what layouts you can get, and so I feel like doing it first just makes complete sense, although there is another level I think that makes sense as well. So let's get into it. 3-hit wonder. So first things first, I'm going to show you a one of the level. A good one, so this is a good layout. So I'll just play through this level, and we'll see how it goes. Just hope I don't mess up. Unfortunate. I need to wait till this sun gets. Probably should put this guy here, but it's not going to end up mastering. Okay. So that's pretty good. I wasn't timing it, there will probably be a timer when the video goes up, but I wasn't timing it. I assume it's about 40 seconds, under 40 seconds. So yeah, that's pretty good. So now let's get into the more technical part. So first things first, I think the biggest thing that separates a good runner from a bad runner in terms of 3-hit wonder is learning about the magnets, how the magnets range works, the distance, like exactly, you know, how you can push the limits and how you can't. And magnets are quite finicky. So it's interesting because, okay, this is a good example actually. So this looks like an all-white layout, like you could play it, but one thing that makes it actually, you know, playable, it's not going to be amazing, but it's going to be playable, is that you can actually put a ladder over this walnut. Ignore that. You can put a ladder over this walnut, because this magnet will not reach it. And then you can play like this, you can get rid of this guy, and then eventually you can get this magnet, you can go over this walnut, and you can play level and complete it in a pretty fast way. So I'm going to just go through what you can and can't do with magnets. So obviously you can't do this. The magnet appearing in this specific position is basically the worst thing, because it can hit everywhere. Which means that going 2 to the right and 2 up, you're still going to get hit by the magnet. So while 2 and 2 won't work, 3 and 2 will work. And so we'll be able to get this walnut. Yeah. Okay, so none of these magnets will be able to reach this row, so I can just put a ladder down here to get a complete row. And I'm just going to get rid of this magnet, since it's not necessary for the point I'm trying to do here. Now, we will be able to get over this walnut by activating this magnet. But the next walnut, I won't be able to. Actually, it will magnet before I can even start putting it down. And that is something to keep in mind. The fact that putting a magnet on a walnut in the same position as putting, like, just a ladder zombie trying to eat something, it's not quite the same. Okay, so here's a great example. Based on what we know, you should know that this will be fine. Magnet won't be able to get this ladder, and the ladder will be able to cross. However, that is not the same for simply eating. It will get the ladder if it's just eating, because the eating puts the zombie's hitbox slightly forward, and that's just forward enough to get the magnet to activate. There are some times where this is useful to know. But basically, if you're trying to optimize it, really, really well, it's going to be useful to know that. You have to know your limits. The more diagonally the distance between the magnet and walnut is, the longer the distance is. Like, it will be more likely to be able to pick it up, if that makes sense. Because this is a distance of 4, and it won't. We've shown it before, it won't work. The magnet will pick up the ladder, and it will be a disaster. But when we're just going straight up, it's fine. Or when we're going straight across, it will also be fine. So you can think about it like that. It can go, if it's just straight up, it can handle 3 or 3 across. When it's slightly diagonal, it can handle 3 and 1 up, or 3 up, 1 across. When it's very diagonal, you know, it won't be able to handle 2 across and 2 up. You have to go 2 across and 3 up, or 3 across and 2 up. So the magnets are quite finicky, and you do have to kind of just practice a bit to get to know them. You have to really be able to understand how they work, and that will help you a lot on this level. That's why I spent so much time on it. I think that is genuinely really important. Okay, so I just got this out, which could be a very good learning tool, actually. So, I don't know whether it's going to go in video, because I'm calling this a bit after where it's probably going to be, but... So, you can ladder this, because none of the magnets see it, and you can ladder this once this magnet is gone. Because this magnet would see it, but this magnet doesn't. So yeah, that's just a nice thing to know. Another important thing to kind of understand is how many imps it takes to overpower a certain amount of pea shooters and wherever the pea shooters are. Again, like all things, it comes with practice, but I can give you a head start. So, here. This is a pretty weird one. So, usually, if you have just one pea shooter, wherever that pea shooter, however many tiles that pea shooter is away from where you place your imp, is how many imps you need. Usually. There's a couple of exceptions. Which, I mean, when there's only like 5 possibilities, isn't that great, but... So, you know, intuitively you need 5, and sometimes you will need 5, because if you get really, really unlucky, you might need 5 instead of 4, but 4 usually will work. It's usually going to be pretty fast as well. And knowing my luck, this is probably going to be one of those situations where it's not going to work out. But it looks like it will. Maybe. Oh, okay, that was actually... Okay, that's kind of close, unfortunately. But, yeah. So, that should work. So, here, 2 away from us. So, 2 should work. And this can either leave you with 2 on low health or 1 on high health. We prefer to have 2 on low health, because it's not going to be damaged anymore by another pea shooter if that's the only pea shooter in the lane. It's just going to be faster to get across. So that's just kind of up to luck. I don't know the exact specifics. It seems like 50-50 to me, but it might not be. Here, okay. So this is an interesting one. Here, you can get away with just doing 1. Sometimes. It's not perfect. Okay, now we need another. Basically, if it doesn't hit the imp before the imp starts eating, you need to put another one down. I just suggest putting another one down anyways, because, I mean, most of the time you're going to need to. Yeah. Now, we have a pea shooter here, which means that we should need 3, but there's a potato mine in the way, so actually we're just going to go as if the pea shooter was here instead, since that's as far as we need to go. So I'm just going to put down 2. And then, now that we don't have sunflowers, it's kind of weird. I'm not entirely sure. I think you just need 3. Because, yeah, we needed 3. Because while it seems like it should be better since there's nothing there, the imps aren't grouped together, which is what makes them so powerful when they're grouped together. So the pea shooter can kind of take them on one at a time and dwindle down the numbers, so you still need 3. Now here, it's interesting. I think you can get away with just having 3 here. But it can kill it. It can kill it. And you need to be fast to get them grouped together really Okay, yeah, so I think this should work for free because it took ages for that pea shooter to actually do anything. Yeah. Now, when there's just sunflowers or magnets on a row, you only need one imp, obviously, because you're not going to be attacked by anything. But I like to put 2, simply because I can get the sun quicker, and I can play the rest of the level quicker. You know, I have enough sun, and it only costs me 50 extra sun to get some of the sun quicker. That's a personal thing, you don't need to do that, but I like doing it. Having one imp will be fine, especially if you're, like, a bit slower, and, you know, you just want to be more careful on it. Okay, so here we're just kind of going through what we've already done. Okay, we're going to need another imp on there. Unfortunate, that's unlucky. And yeah, then we can get rid of the magnets and we can play the rest of the level. Although, actually all of these walnuts are not in the magnet's range, so you could just go here without them. So yeah, I could have played the rest, and that will save a lot of time instead of trying to wait for the magnets. Although, I mean, these magnets are pretty free, so you just send them first anyways, because, yeah, you can. Okay, so, one thing I like to do is, whenever I see a 2 pea shooter lane, but with one of the pea shooters as the very first thing, column 5, is I just go for however many imps you need to get, if it was just this one pea shooter. So, that's just 4. Okay, that's unlucky. So again, sometimes it might not work out, but it is very, very rare that it won't. Okay, that could have gone very badly if that guy had been, okay. But, yeah. It can be a bit scary at times, but it should always work out. Well, not always. It should work out most of the time. When it's like this, it's scary. It's very scary. I would put 6 here. Because I need 4 imps to get to here and 2 imps to get to there, so that's 6 imps. That's not always how it's going to work, but it's a pretty good guideline or estimate. Most of the time I just suggest putting like 2 ladders here, but there's a magnet, so we can't really do that. But yeah, this should work out. Yeah. So just play around with it, honestly. Okay, there is one thing though I want to go through, so we can just send 2 imps here. I don't think 2 imps works on this. I think you need to try 3. Let me just check it with 2. Yeah. Yeah, because it's just going to die immediately. So you need 3. That's the... You absolutely need 3 imps in that situation where the only pea shooters win column 4 and column 5. Okay, so one thing to always keep in mind is that you can have... You have the bungee. This is another thing which I think, you know, it can really increase your level of play, is by recognizing when you can use bungee. So, you can bungee this magnet, and you can then, while you're waiting for it to go, you can start doing this to get some there, and then send the onslaught. You don't need a magnet. This isn't a very great layout, but for point of example, you might sometimes think, well, why would I bungee the magnet there? Surely, I can bungee the walnut instead. And then what that allows me to do is, instead of bungeeing this, and then wasting 150 sun on this, 150 sun on this, I can use 2 imps to get to this magnet. That wastes only 100 sun, and then I could send the ladder if there wasn't a magnet here. Again, like, point of example, if the magnet wasn't there, then you could do this, but magnet is there. So yeah, in some occasions that's better to do. It's a bit slower, but if that's not the limiting factor, then you can absolutely do that and save like 50 sun. Or even more in some cases. Okay, something else you need to be aware of in terms of bungeeing is the squashes. So, for some reason, the squashes, when you bungee, the squashes don't see backwards if you're bungeeing. So you can take this without any problems at all. If you try and take this squash won't see it because it's behind it, but this squash will. Okay, so, something else is that if you have a situation like this, it might sometimes be smarter to actually bungee this squash, so that you can get rid of 2 squashes in the price of 1 bungee. Okay, well, ignore that, but... obviously it wasn't very smart in that situation, but, you know, something to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is how many imps does it take to get rid of a walnut zombie in pretty quick fashion. So, let's time it with 3 imps. Okay, so I usually use 3 imps to get rid of a walnut. It's just what I like to do. So, that took about 6 seconds and 2/3. So, for some reason, well, I mean, I guess that's the reason, but for some reason, in puzzles, the iZombies, walnuts actually have half health. In a similar way to how imps only have 3 hit points. Well, 30 HP, that is, I think. Maybe I'm getting that wrong, but... walnuts only have half health, so they take 20 seconds to eat if it was just the 1 imp. That's obviously not going to work. But, and so, with 3 imps, it takes about 6 seconds and 2/3, which I think is a pretty good amount of time. You can use 2 imps and get rid of it in 10 seconds. That's pretty fine, but I don't know, I like using 3 imps. 4 imps is kind of where you're getting, okay, well, it's like, you're getting 5 seconds instead of 6 seconds and 2/3. It's not really, you know, you're saving a second and a 2/3. Not really that big of a difference. So I use 3 imps. Sometimes 4 if it's like 2 walnuts in my way, I'll use. Really, 3 imps are the magic number. Because in a situation like this, they are really useful. Because 2 imps will just die. Like, they will be squashed before they can eat the magnet. But with 3 imps, it will just be in time to eat the magnet. So you really want to have 3 imps. So this is interesting because it's actually not the same as if it's 2 normal zombies. So 2 normal zombies, you know, that aren't imps, will actually be able to eat it before the squash. That is because of how the hitboxes work and all that good stuff. So, you know, 3 imps, 2 normal zombies, but for the 2 normal zombies, you're going to have it be over a ladder, I believe, I think. Just off the top of my head. Also, I mean, okay, this isn't really necessary to know at all, but diggers, they cannot climb over ladders. For whatever reason, they just cannot climb over ladders. They're never coded to climb over ladders. So, yeah. So I think those are the main things you need to know. I don't think there's much more, like, I can add, nothing coming to the top of my head. Maybe I'm gonna look back and figure out that, you know, oh wait, I should have told them about this, and then maybe I'll record something later down the line for it. But yeah, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just reset and explain why I would take or not take a layout. Now, again, this is coming from a perspective of, like, you know, I try and go for as fast as I can. If you're, like, you know, if you're new to the category, you can probably take any, maybe not any layout, but a lot of layouts, and you can make them work, and you can probably get a decent time with them. So, okay, this one, I'm just, yeah, no consideration by me. I instantly reset, because there's literally no sun in the first 2 columns, column 4 and column 5. It's all in the back, and that's terrible. Okay, yeah, I mean, again, no sun in this column, you know, magnets are in a good position, but that's about it, like, yeah, no, there's no way you can play this. I mean, 3-hit window is interesting because it is almost completely random. The only non-random element of the layout is that the walnuts can't, like, they're always either in column 3, column 4, and column 5, but never in these first 2 columns. That's the only thing that's not random. So, you know, it can be very variable, which is why I do it first. Okay, so this layout I would probably take. It's not great, but, you know, I could get a lot of sun from here. I'd send 4 imps down here. I'd bungee this squash and then bungee this magnet, which would take a bit of time. And maybe I'd send 5 imps, actually. And then I'd have to bungee. It's not great. It's not great. I'd probably regret playing it once I did start playing it, but I saw a lot of sun, so I'd play it. That's my first instinct. No, this one, similarly, I mean, there's just a lot of back sun, and, you know, squash is on a great place, and this magnet is behind the walnut, and it's going to take a lot of imps to get to this magnet, just, again, kind of messy. You know, walnuts are blocking magnets and sun, you know, this top row is good, but you'd have to, you know, send 3 down here. Again, just not enough sun. That's the main thing you have to look out for, is the sun. Not enough sun. Okay, quite a bit of sun at the start here, but these magnets are, like, weird and don't like the walnut positions because they're blocking the magnet, they're blocking a lot of sun. And then, you know, this is just kind of like a wild situation. Okay, so this one is definitely one I take. So, I'd go to here. This might get to the thing in time. Yeah, it will. And then I'd send, 3 up here. I'd be doing this concurrently, but I just want to show you. Save argument. Gonna send Coned here. Just to make sure that it dies, and then, get this. And then, because the magnet can't reach it, I just go here, and then I know that from about here, there's no danger of, magnet getting this. And, this is a good layout. Pretty fast time, usually, if I was doing it all concurrently. Yeah. Okay, next layout. Not good, no sun in these columns. Okay, a lot of sun, magnets quite far back, which can be good, actually. So, I'm going to activate this squash. Current going here to get some sun, and then activate this. Go here, and now I'm saying a second imp so that it can immediately go there. And okay, I have to be careful that the ladder doesn't touch this species because it would activate it. Even if this was a walnut, it wouldn't activate it, but it's not, so it would. So I have to be a bit careful in my timing there. And now I'm just sending a bunch of imps to make sure that, I can eat through everything as fast as possible. And that would be a pretty good time. So, I hope this video has been of use to you. I hope this section of the video has been of use to you. I know I kind of threw you in the deep end by going into 3-hit wonder straight away. I do recommend playing 3-hit wonder first because, you saw at the last section there how many layouts are just completely unplayable. You have to reset for ages to get a good layout. And the only one that really challenges it in that respect is All Your Brains. But I think 3-hit wonder is honestly more variable because All Your Brains is very, all the layouts are very similar. But yeah, so hope that's been of some use to you.